Yo, what is up, guys? It is Nick, or the Notorious Fantasy, back again today with another fantasy football video. Today's video is a fantasy football draft strategy. Yesterday we covered the running back zero strategy. Today is the wide receiver zero strategy. This video is understanding the wide receiver zero strategy and how it works. But before I start the video, I'd like to ask you guys to please go down below, click that subscribe button because I'm going to help you guys win your draft. And then once you win your draft, you can't just stop looking at your team, so you're going to look during the regular season. Come back, watch all these videos on waiver wires, matchups, trades, all of that, trade targets, everything. And then during the postseason, there will be videos as well to help you win there and lift your fantasy football championship trophy. So this video, like I said, is an understanding wide receiver zero draft strategy video. So the meaning of wide receiver zero is not drafting a wide receiver in the first 4 or 5 rounds of the draft. Typically 4, but some people go with the 5, because they're extra alpha and they like to wait even longer to go a wide receiver. After those couple of rounds, you go heavy on upside wide receivers in the middle rounds, which are pretty easy to find. And there's many ways of doing this. There's a couple of things. You go running back, running back, running back, tight end, or a running back, tight end, running back, running back, or 2 running backs, then a quarterback, then another running back, or running back, tight end, quarterback, and then your other running back. There's even more ways of doing it than that, obviously, but I'm just listing a few so you can pretty much get what the draft strategy is. So the best format to use this strategy in would be a 2 wide receiver league, because in a 3 wide receiver league, you can potentially be starting 4 wide receivers if you have a flex. So 3 wide receivers in a flex, so that could be 4. And the value of running backs isn't as immense in that, even though running backs are still important to winning your league. This works best in standard, obviously, because wide receivers aren't getting that boost from getting these huge PPR or these catches. And then a lot of running backs in standard are a lot worse because like a guy like James White or Tariq Cohen isn't as good because they're not getting those points for catching the ball. This also works in PPR, which is point per reception, and half PPR is still perfectly fine to do this in. I'd use this in PPR or half PPR as well. So the best draft spot to use this is either in the early picks of the draft or the middle picks of the draft in the first round. So that means in an 8-team league, 1 through 4. In a 10-team league, 1 through 5. Same with the 12 or 14-team league, all 1 through 5. Or one of the middle picks. So in an 8-team league, 5 and 6. In a 10-team league, 5 through 7. In a 12-team league, 5 through 8. And in a 14-team league, 5 through 8. Now, towards the end of the draft, it doesn't work as well because the running back value isn't as high. Typically, in like if you're doing an early pick, you're going to have a guy like Saquon on our team, a guy like Christian McCaffrey, Alvin Kamara. In the middle, you could have a guy like Le'Veon Bell, Mixon, one of those middle guys that you really like. So this is an example of this so you can really understand it. So this is a 10-team PPR draft from pick 3. It's the PPR ADP. That's why I included that as PPR. The ADP for PPR and standard in the early rounds, pretty similar. Same with half PPR. So with the first round pick, you're going to go with Alvin Kamara. Now, this could be completely different because it's pick 3, so it's either Alvin Kamara, Zeke, McCaffrey, or Barkley. Any of those guys, but Alvin Kamara was 3, so that's why I picked him. In the second round, you're going to go with Chubb, another running back. So you went 2 running backs in a row. Like I said, this isn't the only way to do it, but that's how I'm going to do it in the example to show you. Chubb, the second round pick. And then the third round, we went with the tight end, George Kittle, in the third round. And then the fourth round, we came back with David Montgomery. Then we went with wide receivers here, back to back here, 5 and 6, which is what I would advise doing if you went no wide receivers early. So you get a guy with super high upside in Chris Godwin, a guy who, in my opinion, is going to be great this year because James Winston is going to be slinging the ball from while they're behind, and Chris Godwin's a great target. He scored in his first preseason game from this year. Obviously, you can't buy everything from the preseason games because they don't necessarily mean everything, obviously, but they are something to look out for. And at pick 6, we went with DJ Moore, wide receiver, Carolina Panthers, with some decent upside there too. And then with our 7th pick, typically I wouldn't go quarterback this early. I would normally just line the bench with a bunch more running backs or no wide receiver draft. I would likely just go with a few wide receivers on the bench, like I said. So maybe at the 7th round, I would go with a guy that's still available there at the wide receiver position. A guy like Tyler Boyd could potentially be there. So with that being said, the verdict of this is this strategy, in my opinion, is a lot better than RB0 because of how important getting good running backs are in being successful in fantasy. And that's for every single format. What's it called? PPR, standard, half PPR, the running backs all matter. You won't have to worry as much on scrambling to find running backs later, which is also a plus. Because when you go wide receiver or when you go running back 0, you're kind of just scrambling for a bunch of guys in like the 5th through 10th round, just a bunch of running backs that are not necessarily the running back ones on their team. The third thing is the running backs come off the board so fast. So potentially selecting three of them in the first 3 rounds, or four of them in the first four, not four of them, but or two of them in the first 3 rounds, makes it a lot easier to have great depth at the position. And the fourth point is that it depends less on value being great later in the draft because wide receivers are so deep. It's easier to find a great wide receiver that you can start in round 10 than a great running back that you can start there. Back there's a lot of handcuffs and a lot of cloudy backfields. So, thank you guys all for watching this video. If you enjoyed, please click that subscribe button. It really would help me out. And if you could also leave a comment if you're confused about anything, you want to talk about the strategy, if you've used this strategy before, if you like the strategy, if you think this idea is fucking stupid, you can go ahead and tell me. And while you're down there, click that like button. And also have a great goddamn day. I'll see you guys later with another upload. And if you got to subscribe so you can see that other upload. You know what I'm saying? So have a great goddamn day. I love you all. Goodbye.